Tears streamed down Elise's face as her sister's cruel words cut deeper than any knife ever could. Look at yourself, Elise. Those freckles, that nose, you'll never be model material like me, Adriana sneered, applying another coat of mascara before her big interview at Lumiere Modeling Agency. For years, Elise had swallowed the pain, channeling her rejection into building a silent empire, while Adriana basked in the spotlight of their parents' adoration. But today, something inside her finally broke. With trembling fingers, she reached for her phone and called her financial advisor, her voice suddenly steady. Remember that agency we discussed? I want it, all of it, by tomorrow. What will happen when the sister who always stood in the shadows finally steps into the light of power? If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe to our channel, and share your own experiences with family heartbreak in the comments below. Elise wiped her tears with the sleeve of her custom-tailored blazer, the fabric worth more than most people's monthly rent. Her reflection in the bathroom mirror showed a woman of quiet, power-sharp green eyes, a constellation of freckles across her nose, and a determined set to her jaw. Nothing like Adriana's flawless porcelain complexion and perfect symmetry. While Adriana had been collecting pageant crowns and Instagram followers, Elise had been building Cybernex, a cybersecurity firm now worth billions. She'd started coding at 12, launched her first app at 16, and secured venture capital at 22. Now, at 31, she controlled a tech empire that protected half the Fortune 500 companies. Few knew the face behind the company. Elise preferred it that way: board meetings via secure video calls, her name in press releases but never her image. Her parents had always called it shyness. Adriana called it hiding. What would you even do at a photo shoot? Adriana had laughed once. Hide behind your laptop. The memory stung. Elise's phone buzzed. Marcus, her CFO. You're serious about Lumiere? He asked without preamble. Dead serious, she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. It's not aligned with our portfolio. The board will have questions. I'll handle the board. Just make it happen. She ended the call and stared at her reflection again. She thought of the countless times Adriana had compared them, always with the same conclusion. Elise was the smart one, the successful one, but never the beautiful one. Never the one who turned heads. Never the one their mother proudly showed off to friends. Her office wall displayed degrees from MIT and Stanford, awards for innovation, a photo with the president. Yet at family gatherings, it was always Adriana's latest magazine feature that their mother framed and displayed on the mantel. Beauty fades, but intelligence lasts, their father would say, patting Elise's shoulder sympathetically. Small comfort. When you're 16 and watching your sister go to prom with the boy you secretly loved. Or when you're 25 and your mother introduces you as the smart one at your sister's wedding to a Hollywood producer. Elise's assistant knocked gently on the bathroom door. Ms. Chen, your 3 o'clock is waiting. Thank you, David, I'll be right there. She straightened her blazer and applied a neutral lipstick. The face of a CEO looked back at her, competent, powerful, wealthy, but never pretty enough. Not until now, she had a different kind of power. If she couldn't be beautiful by Adriana's standards, she would redefine the standards themselves. Her phone buzzed again. Marcus had texted, meeting with Lumiere's lawyers tomorrow, 9 a.m. Are you sure about this? She typed back a single word, yes. The conference room at Cybernex headquarters overlooked the San Francisco skyline, floor-to-ceiling windows reflecting the tension inside. 5 people sat around a glass table: Elise, Marcus, 2 corporate lawyers, and James Winters, Cybernex acquisition specialist. Lumiere Modeling Agency, Marcus said, sliding digital portfolios onto everyone's tablets. Founded 1983, annual revenue, approximately $40 million. Client list includes major fashion houses and cosmetic brands, currently owned by Dominique Renault, who's looking to retire. And why exactly are we interested? James asked, looking directly at Elise. Elise had prepared for this question. Diversification. We've dominated tech security. It's time to expand our portfolio into media and entertainment. With all due respect, James countered, there are more profitable entertainment acquisitions. Modeling agencies are volatile, dependent on changing tastes, and frankly, a different world from what we know. Marcus shot Elise a look that said, I told you they wouldn't buy it. Different worlds bring different opportunities, Elise replied coolly. Fashion and tech are increasingly intertwined. Virtual models, AI-driven trend prediction, enhanced e-commerce. There's untapped potential here. The explanation sounded plausible, professional, not at all like, my sister has tormented me my entire life, and I'm finally going to do something about it. Besides, she continued, we'll be acquiring their client contracts and industry relationships. That's valuable in itself. The meeting continued for another hour, financials, projections, integration, possibilities. Eventually, the others left, leaving only Elise and Marcus. You know I'll support whatever you decide, Marcus said, closing his tablet, but this is personal, isn't it? Elise stared out at the city. Marcus had been with her since the beginning, her first hire, now her most trusted confidant. She couldn't lie to him. Yes, Adriana, she has an interview there tomorrow, Marcus sighed. Elise, I know how it sounds. It sounds like you're about to spend $40 million on revenge. It's not just revenge, Elise insisted, though the words rang hollow even to her. It's justice, and maybe healing, I don't know. Marcus studied her face. What exactly do you plan to do once you own the agency? Reject her application? That seems petty for a woman who negotiated a $500 million security contract last month without breaking a sweat. Elise shook her head. I'm not sure yet. I just know I need to do this. Marcus nodded slowly. I'll call Dominique myself. We'll have papers ready by morning. Thank you. After Marcus left, Elise remained alone in the conference room, watching fog roll in across the bay. Was she really going through with this? Using her power and wealth for something so personal? Her phone chimed with a text from Adriana. Wish me luck for tomorrow. Maybe when I'm famous I'll let you handle my cybersecurity. Elise put the phone down without replying. Yes, she was definitely going through with it. The Lumiere modeling agency occupied the top 3 floors of a sleek building in downtown San Francisco. By 10 a.m., Elise had signed the final acquisition papers in a private meeting with Dominique Renaud, a silver-haired Frenchman who seemed relieved to be free of the business. The industry has changed, he told her with a Gallic shrug. Too much social media, not enough artistry. It's yours now, mademoiselle. I wish you luck. He didn't ask why a tech mogul wanted a modeling agency. The money spoke for itself. After he left, Elise asked Marcus to announce the acquisition to Lumiere's staff without revealing her identity. As far as they know, Cybernext is the new owner. Not me personally. And how long do you plan to stay? Anonymous, Marcus asked. Just until I figure out my next move. Marcus nodded. I'll handle it. Meanwhile, there's someone you should meet. Sofia Mendez, HR director. She's been here 15 years, knows everything about everyone. Sofia turned out to be a stylish woman in her 50s with warm brown eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She showed no sign of being rattled by the sudden acquisition. Cybernext, she mused as she gave Elise a tour. Interesting move for a tech company. I assume Ms. Chen has a vision. She always does, Marcus replied diplomatically. Sofia led them through the agency's operations, photography studios, casting rooms, meeting spaces, and offices. Models and staff moved through the spaces with purpose. Everyone beautiful. Everyone busy. We have over 200 models on our roster, Sofia explained, from commercial print to high fashion. Today, we're conducting interviews for new faces. Elise's heart quickened. Many applicants, dozens every week. Few make the cut. This industry is, Sofia hesitated. Brutal, Elise suggested. Sofia smiled sadly. I was going to say selective, but yes, brutal works too. They passed a wall of framed magazine covers featuring Lumiere models, all young, all thin, all conforming to conventional beauty standards. Elise felt a familiar knot in her stomach. And these interviews today? Elise asked carefully. What are you looking for? Sofia gestured vaguely. The usual. Bone structure, height, presence, something special. Anyone promising? A few. There's one coming this afternoon, Adriana Chen. Gorgeous girl, excellent portfolio. We've had our eye on her for a while. Elise kept her expression neutral. Chen. Any relation to Elise Chen of Cybernext? Sofia looked surprised. Her sister. Actually, she mentioned the connection in her application. I didn't realize it might be relevant until this morning's announcement. Interesting, Elise murmured. Sofia continued the tour, showing Elise a small observation room connected to the main interview space. Sometimes clients like to watch callbacks without influencing the process, she explained. Elise nodded. An idea forming. Is this room booked today? No, it's available. Good. I'd like to observe some interviews, to understand the business better. Sophia seemed pleased. Of course, Adriana Chen is scheduled for 2 p.m., if you're curious about the family connection. I am, Elise said quietly. Very curious indeed. At precisely 2 p.m., Elise sat in the darkened observation room, watching through one-way glass as the interview panel prepared. 3 people waited at a long table: Sophia, a rail-thin creative director named Felipe, and a marketing executive, Blake. The door opened, and Adriana walked in. Elise's breath caught. Her sister was stunning, hair glossy, makeup flawless, wearing a simple black dress that highlighted her slender figure. She moved with practiced grace, confidence radiating from every pore. Adriana Chen, Sophia smiled. Welcome to Lumiere. Thank you for the opportunity. Adriana replied with practiced humility that Elise knew was entirely fake. Felipe studied Adriana critically. Turn, please, slowly. Adriana complied, executing a perfect model's turn. Your portfolio is impressive, Blake commented. Mostly commercial work. Yes, but I'm ready for editorial and runway, Adriana said. I've been training with a walking coach for the past year. Your measurements? Felipe asked. Adriana recited numbers that made Elise wince. Had her sister always been that thin? And you're 29, Sophia confirmed, checking the application. Yes, though I'm often told I could pass for 23. Adriana smiled. A flash of something worry crossed her face before the smile returned. Elise understood. 29 was pushing the limits in an industry obsessed with youth. Any special skills? Blake asked. I speak Mandarin and French, I'm trained in ballet, and I have a significant social media following. Adriana paused. And my sister is Elise Chen, CEO of Cybernex. Elise stiffened in her chair. Sophia exchanged glances with the others. Yes, we noticed that connection. Interesting timing, actually. What do you mean? Adriana asked. Nothing, Sophia said quickly. Just that we've had some corporate changes recently. I understand my sister's company works with many high-profile clients, Adriana continued. I've always supported her career, and I know she supports mine. Elise dug her fingernails into her palms. The audacity. Adriana had never shown the slightest interest in Elise's work, had dismissed it as boring computer stuff whenever it came up. We judge candidates on their own merits, Felipe said coolly. Adriana smiled, undeterred. Of course, I just thought it worth mentioning. The interview continued, with Adriana answering questions perfectly, walking when asked, turning her face to show different angles. She was poised, professional, everything a model should be. She was also condescending to the assistant who brought water, checked her phone during Sophia's explanation of contract terms, and subtly criticized a model whose photo appeared on a nearby screen. None of the interviewers seemed to notice, or if they did, they didn't care. Beauty trumped behavior. When Adriana left, the panel discussed her briefly. Gorgeous, Blake said. Attitude, Sophia countered. Felipe shrugged. Models have attitude. She has the look we need for the Diamonds Forever campaign. I say we call her back. Sophia made a note. We'll see what the new management thinks. Alone in the darkroom, Elise felt a strange mix of emotions. Anger at Adriana's name dropping, disgust at how her shallow behavior was overlooked, and, buried beneath it all, a familiar ache, the pain of comparison she'd felt her entire life. Now, however, she had power Adriana couldn't imagine. The question was, how would she use it? Elise spent the night in her penthouse apartment, pacing the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Her initial plan, the impulsive, vengeful one, had been simple: by the agency, reject Adriana, savor the irony. But watching her sister's interview had shifted something inside her. The problem wasn't just Adriana. It was the entire system that had shaped her, that had shaped them both. The arbitrary standards that had deemed one sister beautiful and the other merely smart. Elise opened her laptop and began researching articles about the modeling industry's toxic culture, studies on body image and self-esteem, campaigns promoting diversity that turned out to be empty marketing ploys. By morning, she had a new plan, one that went beyond personal revenge. I need to find someone, she told Marcus over breakfast, a consultant with insider knowledge of the modeling industry, someone critical of its problems, but who understands it well enough to change it from within. Marcus raised an eyebrow. That's not what I expected. I thought this was about getting back at Adriana. It was, Elise admitted. But now I see a bigger opportunity. 3 days and several interviews later, Elise found Rebecca Joy, former model turned activist who had left the industry after speaking out about its predatory practices. They met in Elise's office at Cybernex, Rebecca's skepticism evident from the moment she arrived. "Let me get this straight," Rebecca said, crossing her long legs. At 45, she still had the posture of a model, but her eyes held a shrewd intelligence that immediately impressed Elise. A tech CEO with no fashion experience bought a modeling agency and wants to revolutionize beauty standards. "That's correct," Elise replied. "Why?" Elise considered lying, then decided against it. "Personal reasons, initially. My sister is a model, and she's spent our entire lives making me feel ugly." Rebecca's expression softened slightly. "So this is revenge." "It started that way," Elise admitted. "But now I see it as redemption. Not just for me, but for everyone who's been told they don't fit some arbitrary standard." Rebecca studied her. Noble words. "But changing this industry would mean sacrificing profit. Are you prepared for that?" "I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes," Elise said simply. "This isn't about profit." Rebecca uncrossed her legs and leaned forward. "What's your vision?" "Exactly. A modeling agency that celebrates all kinds of beauty, that treats models as professionals, not commodities, that changes the conversation about what beauty even means." "And your sister?" Elise hesitated. "She has a callback at Lumiere. I haven't decided what to do about that yet." Rebecca nodded slowly. "If you're serious, this can't be about one person. It has to be about transforming the whole system." "I am serious." "Then I'm in," Rebecca said. "But I warn you, this won't be easy. The fashion industry resists change, especially change that threatens its fundamental premises." "I've disrupted industries before," Elise said, extending her hand. "Technology, meet fashion." Rebecca shook it, a smile finally breaking through her serious demeanor. "When do we start?" "Immediately," Elise replied. "Adriana's callback is next week." The Lumiere offices buzzed with confusion and speculation. In just 5 days, the new ownership had implemented sweeping changes, all communicated through and Rebecca, who had been introduced as a special consultant. The first memo announced a comprehensive review of all agency policies. The second outlined new ethical guidelines for photo shoots: no excessive retouching, no extreme dieting requirements, mandatory breaks, and a zero-tolerance policy for inappropriate behavior. By day 3, Philippe was storming through the hallways, incensed about the cancellation of the Starving Artist campaign he'd been developing. "This is fashion, not a social justice workshop," he complained to Blake over coffee. "Who are these Cybernex people anyway? What do they know about beauty?" Sophia, overhearing, joined them. "They know that beauty comes in more forms than you've been willing to consider, Felipe. The market is changing," Sophia interrupted. "And frankly, these changes are long overdue." Behind the scenes, Elise watched the agency's transformation from her temporary office on the top floor. She had decided to remain anonymous until the new vision was firmly established. Until Adriana's callback, Rebecca proved invaluable. Her insider knowledge, helping identify which staff members would embrace change and which would resist. Together, they drafted a new mission statement for Lumiere, redefining beauty for the modern age: authentic, diverse, empowered. "The Diamonds Forever campaign is our perfect testing ground," Rebecca explained during their daily strategy meeting. "It's high-profile, launching in 3 months, and was going to feature the usual suspects: tall, thin, young." "And now?" Elise asked. "Now we're recasting it completely. Models of different ages, body types, ethnicities, gender expressions, beauty in all its forms." Elise nodded. "What's the client saying?" Diamond Eternal was hesitant until we showed them the mock. Now they're cautiously on board. They see the potential for positive press. Sophia entered with a stack of portfolios. "The callbacks for the new campaign direction are scheduled for next week, including Adriana Chen." Elise kept her expression. "Neutrophil, has she been informed of the new concept?" "All candidates have received the brief. Some have withdrawn. Others are intrigued." "And Adriana?" "She confirmed she attend," Sophia said, though she did call to ask if there had been a mistake in the brief. Elise could imagine her sister's reaction to the new concept: confusion, then disdain. Adriana had thrived in the traditional beauty hierarchy. She wouldn't surrender that advantage easily. "Will you be observing the callbacks?" Sophia asked. Elise nodded. "Yes, but still, anonymously. The time isn't right for me to step forward." After Sophia left, Rebecca gave Elise a searching look. You realize that if your sister doesn't fit the new Lumiere, it won't be personal rejection. Will be because she represents values we're moving away from. I know, Elise said, surprised to find she meant it. This has become something bigger than our sibling rivalry. Good, Rebecca said. Because changing an industry requires focus. If this is still about settling a score, it won't work. Elise looked at the wall where they had pinned images representing Lumiere's new direction faces that would never have been considered model material before, each beautiful in their own distinct way. It's not about the score anymore, she said quietly. It's about changing the game. Adriana stared at the brief for the Diamonds Forever campaign, reading it for the third time, as if the words might somehow rearrange themselves into something that made sense. Authentic beauty, diverse representations, challenging conventional standards. What happened to the glamorous diamond campaign she'd been expecting? This sounded like some kind of charity project. She called her agent, Vince. Let's go on with Lumiere. This brief is bizarre. New ownership, new direction, Vince replied. Word is Cybernex bought them last week. Adriana froze. Cybernex, as in, my sister's company. I guess. Does it matter? Did it? Adriana wasn't sure. She and Elise barely spoke these days outside of family obligations. Surely this was just a business decision, nothing personal. Still, a nagging doubt lingered as she entered Lumiere's studios the following week. The waiting area was filled with well, not the usual crowd. A silver-haired woman in her 60s, a statuesque black woman with close-cropped hair, a curvy South Asian model reviewing the brief, a freckled redhead with an androgynous look, and Adriana, feeling suddenly conspicuous in her conventional beauty. Sophia greeted them, accompanied by a woman Adriana didn't recognize, tall, with sharp features and an assessing gaze. Welcome to the Diamonds Forever callback, Sophia began. This is Rebecca Jordan, our creative consultant. Rebecca stepped forward. Today's session will be different from what you might be accustomed to. We're not looking for perfect faces, looking for authentic presence and personal connection to the concept of enduring beauty. She outlined an improvisational exercise where each model would interact with the jewelry while sharing what beauty meant to them personally. Adriana felt a flutter of panic. She hadn't prepared for this. Beauty was well, beauty, what was there to say about it? When her turn came, she approached the display of diamond pieces with practiced grace, selecting a pair of elegant earrings. Beauty is confidence, she began, falling back on pageant answers. It's presenting yourself at your best. It's the result of dedication and discipline. Rebecca's expression remained neutral. And what makes you feel beautiful, Adriana? The question caught her off guard. Being recognized for my beauty, I suppose, booking campaigns, being selected. So your beauty depends on external validation. Adriana faltered. No, I mean, that's not what I meant. Rebecca nodded to the silver-haired model, Judith. Would you share your perspective? Judith stepped forward, her movements graceful despite her age. Beauty is resilience, she said, touching a diamond pendant. It's surviving life's pressures and emerging stronger, like carbon becoming diamond. I feel most beautiful when I'm authentic. I'm not hiding my age or my experiences. The others nodded in agreement. Even Sophia seemed moved. Adriana felt suddenly hollow. Her answers seemed shallow by comparison. The session continued with group interactions, each model sharing personal stories connected to the jewelry. Adriana tried to participate, but felt increasingly out of place. This wasn't modeling. As she understood it, there was no traditional posing, no emphasis on physical perfection. When Rebecca paired her with Zara, the curvy South Asian model, for a friendship bracelet concept, Adriana's discomfort peaked. We don't look right together, she whispered to Rebecca. Our body types are too different. Rebecca raised an eyebrow. That's precisely the point, Adriana. Friendship-like beauty transcends physical types. Zara overheard and gave Adriana a look of quiet disappointment. By the session's end, Adriana knew she had failed. Not because she wasn't beautiful enough for the first time in her life. That wasn't the metric, but because she didn't understand this new vision of beauty at all. As she gathered her things, she wondered if Elise was behind this somehow. It seemed too coincidental. But what could her sister possibly gain from changing the very industry where Adriana had always reigned supreme? 1 week after the callbacks, Lumiere buzzed with anticipation. The entire agency had been summoned for an all-hands meeting to meet the new owner and hear about the future direction. Rumors circulated wildly Cybernex was selling already. They were merging with a tech platform. They were launching a virtual model division. Adriana received a special invitation as a callback candidate, an unusual move that only intensified her suspicions. She arrived early, determined to understand what was happening to the agency she'd dreamed of joining. The main studio had been transformed into a presentation space. Staff filled the rows of chairs, models clustered near the back, executives in the front. A sleek stage held only a podium, with the new Lumiere logo, the traditional cursive, replaced with a modern, inclusive design. Sophia approached the microphone. Thank you all for coming. The past 2 weeks have brought significant changes to Lumiere, and today, you'll understand why. It's my pleasure to introduce our new owner, who will share her vision for the future of this agency. Her vision. Adriana's stomach tightened. Please welcome the CEO of Cybernex and the new owner of Lumiere Modeling Agency, Elise Chen. The room went silent as Elise walked onto the stage. Adriana froze, blood draining from her face. No, it couldn't be, but it was. Her sister, her plain, freckled tech geek sister, stood confidently at the podium in a tailored suit, surveying the crowd. When Elise's eyes found Adriana's, they held for one electric moment before moving on. Good morning, Elise began. Many of you are wondering why a technology company would acquire a modeling agency. The answer is simple: to change it. She outlined her vision clearly and confidently: an agency that would redefine beauty standards, that would celebrate diversity in all forms, that would treat models ethically and create campaigns with social impact. The fashion industry has perpetuated narrow, harmful definitions of beauty for too long, Elise continued. Lumiere will now lead the way in expanding those definitions. Adriana felt as if she were having an out-of-body experience. This was Elise, the sister who never cared about fashion, who wore the same 5 outfits in rotation, who disappeared during family photos, suddenly positioning herself as an authority on beauty. When the presentation ended, the crowd broke into small groups, some excited, others concerned. Adriana pushed through them all, making straight for the stage where Elise was speaking with Rebecca and Sophia. Excuse me, Adriana interrupted, voice tight. I need to speak with my sister, privately. Elise nodded calmly. Of course, let's use my office. The moment the door closed behind them, Adriana exploded. What the hell, Elise? You bought an entire modeling agency just to humiliate me. That's not, don't lie. The timing is obvious. I tell you, you're not pretty enough to model, and suddenly you own the agency I'm applying to. You changed their entire philosophy to what? Prove a point. Elise's composure wavered slightly. It didn't start as a philosophical mission. No, I was hurt and angry. So you admit it. This is revenge. It started that way, Elise acknowledged. But it's evolved into something more important than my career, which you've basically destroyed. Your career isn't destroyed, Adriana. But yes, more important than your career. More important than our sibling rivalry. Adriana laughed bitterly. Oh, please, you've been jealous of me our entire lives. And you've been cruel to me our entire lives, Elise countered, her calm finally breaking. Do you have any idea how it felt, hearing my own sister tell me I wasn't pretty enough? After a lifetime of being compared to you and found wanting. So, by a modeling agency. That makes sense. It made more sense than continuing to take your abuse, Elise said quietly. Adriana stepped back as if slapped. Abuse? That's dramatic, is it? Think about how you've spoken to me since we were children. About my appearance, my clothes, my social life. Would you speak that way to anyone else? For just a moment, doubt flickered across Adriana's perfect features. This meeting is over, she said, reaching for the door. And don't worry, won't be applying to your agency. I wouldn't work for you if it was the last modeling job on earth. That's your choice, Elise replied. But the offer stands. If you can adapt to our new vision, there's a place for you here. Adriana paused, hand on the doorknob. Why would you even want me here? Because despite everything, you're my sister, and you're talented. Adriana shook her head. You've lost your mind. She yanked open the door and stormed out, leaving Elise alone in the silence of her new office. The aftermath of the revelation left Elise emotionally drained. She sat in her new office, staring at the city skyline, wondering if she'd made a terrible mistake. A knock interrupted her thoughts. Sophia entered, followed by Rebecca. That was intense, Sophia said, setting a cup of tea on Elise's desk. I could hear Adriana from the hallway. Are you okay? Rebecca asked. Elise managed a weak smile. I've had better days. For what it's worth, Sophia said, your presentation was inspiring. The staff is buzzing mostly positively. Mostly Felipe and a few others are updating their resumes. Rebecca smirked. No great loss. Elise sighed. And the models? Mixed reactions, Sophia admitted. Some are excited about the new direction. Others are adjusting. Rebecca sat across from Elise. This was always going to be difficult. You're challenging an entrenched system. I know, Elise said. I just didn't expect it to feel so personal. It is personal, Sophia said gently. That's why it matters. Another knock on the door. Sophia opened it to reveal Zara, the South Asian model from the callback. Sorry to interrupt, Zara said hesitantly. I was hoping to speak with Miss Chen. Elise nodded. Please, come in. And it's Elise. Rebecca and Sophia excused themselves, leaving Elise alone with Zara, who seemed nervous but determined. I wanted to thank you, Zara began, for what you're doing with Lumiere. I've been modeling for 5 years, and this is the first time I've felt valued for who I am, not despite it. Elise was touched. That's exactly what we're trying to create. I know, Zara smiled. Then, more carefully, I also wanted to tell you that I spoke with your sister. Elise tensed. Adriana. Yes, she was upset after the meeting. I found her in the lobby. What did she say? Elise braced herself for more anger, more accusations. She was confused, mostly, and hurt. I think she feels displaced. That wasn't my intention, Elise said automatically, then paused. Actually, maybe it was initially, but not anymore. Zara nodded thoughtfully. I told her about my experiences in the industry. How I was always the ethnic model, the plus-size option, never just a model. How bookers would tell me I was pretty for an Indian girl. That's terrible, Elise said. It's common, Zara shrugged. But your sister, I don't think she'd ever considered how the system that elevated her might harm others. She seemed genuinely surprised. Adriana, feeling empathy. Elise couldn't keep the skepticism from her voice. People can surprise you, Zara said simply. Especially when their world is shaken up. Maybe she needs time to process it all. After Zara left, Elise pondered their conversation. She'd been so focused on how beauty standards had harmed her personally that she'd almost missed the bigger picture, how they harmed everyone, even those who seemed to benefit from them. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. Adriana just called us, very upset. What's going on between you two now? Elise put the phone away without answering. She'd deal with her parents later. Right now, she had an agency to transform. Meanwhile, across town, Adriana sat in her apartment, surrounded by modeling portfolios and tear sheets from her career. Everything suddenly felt hollow. She picked up her phone, scrolled to Zara's number. The model had insisted they exchange contacts on, stared at it for a long moment before setting it down again. Not yet. She wasn't ready yet. The Chen family dinner had been scheduled weeks ago, long before Elise's acquisition of Lumiere. Now, as she pulled up to her parents' suburban home, she dreaded the confrontation that surely awaited. Her father opened the door before she could knock. Elise, he said, his expression concerned. Come in. Your mother and sister are in the dining room. Elise noted the subtle emphasis on sister. Taking a deep breath, she followed him into the house where she'd grown up, a house filled with framed photographs of Adriana's modeling milestones and pageant victories. Her own achievements were relegated to a small shelf in the study. Adriana sat beside their mother, both women looking up as Elise entered. Adriana's expression was cold, their mother's confused and hurt. Elise, her mother began, what's this, about you buying a modeling agency? Adriana says you did it to sabotage her career. No, hello, no, how are you? Straight to defending Adriana. Some things never changed. That's not exactly what happened, Elise said, taking a seat across from them. Then, explain, her father said, joining them at the table. Because from where we're sitting, it looks like you used your success to hurt your sister. Of course you'd see it that way, Elise muttered. What does that mean? Her mother asked sharply. It means you've always taken Adriana's side, Elise replied, surprising herself with her directness. You've always valued her beauty over my accomplishments. That's not true, her mother protested. We've always been proud of you. Really, Then why is this house a shrine to Adriana's modeling career, while my company's achievements barely get a mention? An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. This isn't about who got more attention, Adriana interjected. This is about you deliberately sabotaging my chance at Lumiere. I didn't sabotage anything, Elise countered. I changed the agency's direction. You're still welcome to be part of it if you can adapt to what your revenge fantasy, to a more inclusive vision of beauty. Their father held up his hands. Girls, please, we're family. Surely we can resolve this without what, Dad? Elise interrupted, without confronting the dynamics that have shaped our entire relationship. Adriana has spent our whole lives making me feel inferior because I don't look like her, and you and Mom have enabled it. That's not fair, her mother said, tears forming. We love you both equally. But you don't treat us equally, Elise insisted. You never have. So you punish Adriana? Her father asked. How does that solve anything? I'm not punishing her. I'm creating something positive from a lifetime of negative experiences. Adriana scoffed. Oh please, you're using your money to play goddess in an industry you know nothing about. I know what it feels like to be told I'm not good enough because of how I look, Elise shot back. And I'm not the only one. Girls, their mother pleaded. Can't we just have a nice dinner? Elise looked at her mother. Lee looked at her and saw for the first time how much her own appearance had shaped her mother's behavior. Grace Chen had been a beauty queen in her youth. She had raised a daughter in her image and didn't know how to connect with the one who didn't fit the mold. I'm sorry, Elise said quietly, but I don't think I can stay for dinner tonight. She stood, suddenly exhausted by the weight of family patterns too ingrained to break in a single conversation. Elise, don't leave, her father said. We can talk this through. But Elise was already heading for the door, the familiar ache of being the outsider in her own family settling deep in her chest. Behind her, she heard Adriana's voice, unexpectedly soft. Let her go, Dad. She's made her choice. 3 weeks after the confrontation at Lumiere, Adriana sat in the waiting area of Apex Models, her 4th agency interview since the incident. The receptionist had been checking on something for nearly 30 minutes. Adriana knew what that meant. They'd discovered who she was. Sure enough, when the receptionist returned, her smile was apologetic. I'm so sorry, Ms. Chen, but we don't have any openings that match your profile at this time. Adriana nodded stiffly. Thank you for your time. Outside, rain pelted the sidewalk, matching her mood. She'd been rejected by every major agency in San Francisco. Word had spread quickly. Adriana Chen, the model who'd been at the center of the Lumiere controversy. Some said she'd demanded special treatment because of her sister. Others claimed she'd made discriminatory remarks during the callback. None of it was entirely true, but in the small world of fashion, perception was reality. In her apartment that evening, Adriana scrolled through Instagram, masochistically seeking out Lumiere's new posts. The Diamonds Forever campaign was gaining traction. The diverse cast of models, receiving praise from fashion critics and social media alike. Zara's face appeared in several shots. Luminous and confident, the silver-haired model, Judith, had become something of a sensation, appearing in articles about age representation in fashion. Adriana threw her phone across the couch. It wasn't fair. She'd worked her entire life to fit the industry's standards. Her diet, spent fortunes on skincare, endured countless rejections before finally gaining traction. And now, just as she'd reached for the next level, her sister had changed the rules of the game. Her phone chimed with a text from her mother. Saw Elise on the Fashion Forward podcast. She's really making waves with Lumiere. Maybe you two should talk. Adriana didn't respond. Instead, she opened her laptop and searched for the podcast. There was Elise, her plain, freckled sister, speaking confidently beside Rebecca Jordan about their vision for transforming beauty standards in modeling. We're not rejecting beauty, Elise was saying. We're expanding it. Beauty isn't a narrow path. It's a wide landscape with room for everyone. The comments section overflowed with praise, viewers calling Elise brave and visionary. Fashion insiders predicting Lumiere would start a movement. Adriana slammed the laptop shut, tears burning her eyes. Her whole life, she'd been the special one, the beautiful one. Now, Elise, who'd never cared about beauty or fashion, was being celebrated. In the very industry where Adriana had staked her identity, she poured herself a glass of wine, then another. Her phone remained silent, no calls from agents, no booking inquiries. At 29, she was already pushing the age limits for models. A few months of inactivity could end her career permanently. Her gaze fell on the business card Zara had given her after their conversation. If you ever want to talk, double quotes, Zara had said. At the time, Adriana had found it condescending. Now, she wasn't so sure. Opening her laptop again, she typed Lumiere Modeling Agency New Direction into the search bar. Article after article appeared, most positive, some questioning whether the changes would last. One headline caught her eye: From Beauty to Authenticity, How Lumiere is Redefining Fashion's Future. The article quoted an anonymous model for the first time. I feel like I can be successful without erasing parts of myself. Adriana had never considered that perspective before. She'd always seen beauty standards as a challenge to overcome, not a system to question. But what if Elise was right? What if there was another way to think about beauty, one that didn't require Adriana to constantly prove her worth through her appearance? The thought was both terrifying and strangely liberating. She picked up her phone and found Zara's number, her finger hovering over the call button for a long moment before she set it down again. Not yet, but soon, perhaps a month after launching Lumiere's New Direction. Elise was reviewing campaign proofs in her office when her assistant knocked. Your mother's on line 1, he said. She says it's important. Elise hesitated. She hadn't spoken to either of her parents since walking out of the family dinner. I'll take it, she said finally. Elise, her mother's voice sounded strained. I need to talk to you about Adriana. Elise steeled herself. What about her? I'm worried. She's not answering my calls. She's cancelled our weekly lunch twice. And when your father drove by her apartment, her curtains were closed in the middle of the day. Mom, Adriana is 29 years old. Maybe she's just busy. That's not it, her mother insisted. Something's wrong. She's never been like this before. Elise sighed. What do you want me to do? Check on her, please. She doesn't want to see me, Mom. I'm the last person. Just try, her mother interrupted. For me. After hanging up, Elise debated ignoring the request. She and Adriana hadn't spoken since the revelation at Lumiere, but beneath her resentment, a flicker of concern sparked. It wasn't like Adriana to withdraw from their mother's attention. That evening, she found herself outside Adriana's upscale apartment building. The doorman recognized her. The sisters looked enough alike to be mistaken for each other at a distance and let her up without calling ahead. Elise knocked on the door. No answer. She knocked again, louder. Adriana. It's Elise. Mom asked me to check on you. Shuffling sounds from inside. Then the door opened a crack. Adriana peered out, looking nothing like her usual polished self. Her hair was unwashed, her eyes red-rimmed. What do you want? She asked, but the usual venom was missing from her voice. Can I come in? Adriana hesitated, then stepped back, opening the door wider. The apartment was uncharacteristically messy, clothes draped over furniture, take-out containers on the coffee table. Mom's worried about you, Elise said, following Adriana to the living room. Mom's always worried about me, Adriana replied, curling up on the couch. You can tell her I'm fine. Are you? Elise asked, taking in her sister's appearance and the state of the apartment. Adriana laughed hollowly. What do you care? Isn't this what you wanted? Me, struggling. No, Elise said honestly. That's not what I wanted. Then what? What was the point of all this? Elise sat on the edge of an armchair. Initially, I wanted you to know how it felt to be judged and found wanting based on arbitrary standards. But it became about something bigger. Adriana was quiet for a moment. I can't get work, she finally said. No agency will touch me. Elise frowned. Because of Lumiere, because of everything. I'm branded difficult, too old, too conventional. Adriana's voice broke on the last word. I never meant to end your career, Elise said softly. Didn't you? Adriana looked up, her eyes wet. You've resented me our whole lives, and you've belittled me our whole lives, Elise countered, but without anger. We've both hurt each other. Silence fell between them, the weight of decades of complicated feelings filling the space. I spoke with Zara, Adriana finally said. From your callback. Elise nodded, surprised. And she made me think about things differently, about how I've benefited from a system that hurts other people, including you. Adriana's voice was barely audible. I never saw it that way before. It was the closest thing to an apology Elise had ever heard from her sister. She didn't know how to respond. I don't know who I am if I'm not the pretty one, Adriana continued, vulnerability raw in her voice. That's been my identity since we were children. Elise recognized the fear in her sister's eyes, the same fear she'd felt when told she wasn't beautiful enough, the fear of not being enough, just as you are. You're more than that, Elise said gently. You always have been. For the first time in their adult lives, Adriana didn't argue. She just looked at Elise with tired eyes and whispered, I hope you're right. The Diamonds Forever campaign launched with a splashy event at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. The exhibit hall had been transformed into an interactive experience. Photographs of the diverse models displayed alongside their personal stories and reflections on beauty. Elise, still uncomfortable in the spotlight, stood at the edges of the crowd, watching fashion journalists and industry insiders absorb Lumiere's new vision. Rebecca fielded most of the questions, her experience and passion making her the perfect spokesperson. Ms. Chen. Elise turned to find a reporter from Fashion Forward approaching. Your campaign is generating incredible buzz. Was this always your vision for Lumiere? Elise considered the question carefully. No, she admitted. It evolved. The best things often do. Some critics say you're sacrificing commercial appeal for political correctness. Your response? I'd say they're underestimating the public. People are hungry for authenticity. Our early metrics prove its engagement is up 300% since the campaign soft-launched online. The reporter looked impressed. And as someone new to the fashion world, what's been your biggest learning curve? Elise smiled, understanding that beauty isn't objective. It's not a standard to meet, it's an experience to share. After the interview, Sophia approached with a glass of champagne. Beautifully said. And the response has been overwhelming. 3 major brands have contacted us about similar campaigns. That's fantastic, Elise said. How's the team handling it? They're excited. Even Felipe has come around somewhat. Sophia nodded toward the creative director, who was grudgingly explaining the concept to a group of designers. Elise scanned the room, taking in the success around her. The Diamonds Forever models circulated through the crowd, each embodying the campaign's message in their own way. Zara chatted animatedly with a jewelry designer. Judith posed for photos with younger models. Even the museum staff had stopped to admire the exhibitions. Rebecca joined them, glowing with satisfaction. We did it, she said. This is just the beginning. It is, Elise agreed. Yet despite the triumph of the evening, she felt a pang of emptiness. She'd transformed Lumiere, challenged industry norms, created opportunities for overlooked models, but the personal wound that had started, it all remained unhealed. Her phone buzzed with a text. She expected it to be Marcus with an update on Cybernet's business, but instead saw Adriana's name. Congratulations. The campaign looks amazing. Elise stared at the message, uncertain how to respond. It was the first contact from her sister since their conversation in Adriana's apartment 2 weeks ago. She typed back, thank you, wish you were here. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, maybe next time, a small olive branch, but significant, coming from Adriana. Later that night. As the event wound down, Elise found herself standing before a particularly striking photograph. Judith, the silver-haired model, wearing a diamond collar, her face etched with laugh lines, her eyes bright with life. She's beautiful, said a voice beside her. Sophia had joined her again. But differently than we're taught to see. Elise nodded. That's exactly it. You know, Sophia said carefully, there's been talk about featuring you in the next campaign. Me? Elise laughed. I'm not a model. Neither. We're half our new faces until we redefined what that means, Sophia pointed out. Think about it. It would be powerful, the woman behind the vision, becoming part of it. Elise touched her freckled cheek, considering. The old fear surfaced. Not pretty enough. Not perfect enough, but it felt different now, less powerful. I'll think about it, she said. As she left the museum that night, Elise felt something shift inside her, a quiet realization that in changing how others saw beauty, she had begun to change how she saw herself. The success of the Diamonds Forever campaign catapulted Lumiere into the spotlight. Fashion magazines ran features on the agency's transformation. Industry panels invited Elise and Rebecca to speak about their vision. Competing agencies scrambled to launch their own diversity initiatives, most falling short of Lumiere's authentic approach. Through it all, Elise and Adriana maintained a careful distance, their text exchanges brief and neutral. Their mother reported that Adriana seemed better. She'd started attending family dinners again and was working on a new project, though she wouldn't share details. Then, on a rainy Tuesday morning, Elise's assistant announced an unexpected visitor. "Your sister is here to see you." Elise looked up from her computer, surprised. "Send her in." Adriana entered, looking more like her old self, polished, confident, beautiful, but with something different in her demeanor. Less arrogance, more purpose. "Nice office," she said, glancing around. "Very tech CEO chic." "Thanks," Elise replied, cautiously. "What brings you here?" Adriana took a seat across from Elise's desk. "I've been doing a lot of thinking and talking with Zara, with a therapist." She smiled faintly at Elise's surprised expression. "Yes, therapy. Turns out I had some issues to work through." "Haven't we all?" Elise murmured. "Anyway," Adriana continued, "I've realized something. I've spent my whole life being valued for how I look, not who I am, or what I can do. And somewhere along the way, I started doing the same to other people, including you." Elise sat very still, afraid to break the moment's fragility. "I'm sorry," Adriana said, meeting Elise's eyes directly, "for how I've treated you, for making you feel less than. You deserved better from your sister." The apology, so long awaited, almost didn't feel real. "Thank you," Elise managed. "That means a lot." Adriana nodded, then straightened her shoulders. "I also came with a proposal." "I want to work at Lumiere." "As a model?" Elise asked, confused. "No," Adriana shook her head. "As a talent scout. I've spent 15 years in this industry. I know the conventional side inside out, but, more importantly, I know how narrow and damaging it can be." She leaned forward. "I think I could help identify new faces. People who wouldn't traditionally be considered, but who have something special." Elise studied her sister, looking for signs of insincerity but finding none. "Why this? Why now?" "Because I need to reinvent myself," Adriana said simply. "And because I believe in what you're doing, even if I hated admitting it at first." "The staff might not welcome you with open arms," Elise warned. "They know our history." "I'm prepared for that," Adriana replied. "I don't expect special treatment. In fact, I'd prefer to start at the bottom, prove myself on merit." Elise considered the proposal. Part of her remained suspicious. Was this another of Adriana's manipulations? But the vulnerability in her sister's eyes seemed genuine. "Probationary period," Elise decided. 3 months. You'll report to Sophia, not to me. No special treatment, as you said." Relief washed over Adriana's face. "Thank you. I won't let you down." As Adriana stood to leave, Elise asked, "Does Mom know about this?" "Not yet," Adriana smiled. "I wanted to tell you first." After her sister left, Elise sat in the quiet of her office, processing what had just happened. The scenario she'd never imagined. Adriana acknowledging her behavior, apologizing, wanting to be part of Elise's vision rather than competing with it. She texted Rebecca, "Interesting development. Adriana wants to join Lumiere as a talent scout." Rebecca's reply came quickly, "People can surprise you, sometimes even sisters." Adriana's first day at Lumiere began with sideways glances and whispered conversations that stopped when she entered rooms. She'd expected this. Her reputation preceded her, both as Elise's sister and as a model known for embodying conventional beauty standards. Sophia assigned her to the scouting team, a group of 4 professionals responsible for finding new talent. The team leader, Miguel, made his skepticism clear from the start. "We don't just look for pretty faces here," he told her during orientation. "We look for stories, for authenticity, for presence." "I understand," Adriana replied, accepting the subtle dig with more grace than she would have shown a month ago. The first week was challenging. During team meetings, her suggestions were politely acknowledged but rarely pursued. When she identified potential models in the preliminary portfolios, her selections were questioned. "Too conventional," Miguel said of one. "We need more than just bone structure," commented another team member about another of Adriana's picks. By Friday, her confidence was wavering. She found herself in the break room, staring dejectedly into a cup of coffee, when Zara appeared. "Rough week?" the model asked, sitting beside her. Adriana managed a weak smile. "You could say that. I'm starting to think this was a mistake." "Give it time," Zara advised. "You're challenging their expectations just by being here." "I thought I understood what Elise was doing," Adriana admitted. But now I see I've barely scratched the surface. It's like learning a new language. Then, learn it, Zara said simply. You mastered the old industry's rules. You can master these too. The conversation gave Adriana renewed determination. That weekend, instead of socializing with her usual crowd, she immersed herself in research, reading articles about representation in fashion, studying Lumiere's successful campaigns, examining the portfolios of models who didn't fit traditional molds but had powerful presences. By Monday, she had a new approach. During the team meeting, instead of suggesting models who resembled conventional beauty standards, she presented a candidate even she would have overlooked before, a young woman with vitiligo, whose portfolio showed not only striking features, but also a compelling personal story about embracing her skin condition. Her name is Maya, Adriana explained. She's been rejected by 3 traditional agencies, but has built a following online. She's articulate, passionate about changing beauty perceptions, and has a unique look that would be perfect for the skincare campaign we're casting. Miguel studied the portfolio with interest. This is unexpected from you. I'm learning, Adriana said simply. Maya was invited for an interview, impressed the team, and was signed to Lumiere the following week. It was a small victory, but significant. Adriana's first real contribution to the agency's new direction. Elise, true to her word, maintained professional distance, receiving updates on Adriana's progress through Sophia, rather than intervening directly. But she noticed the change in her sister during their weekly family dinners, which they had cautiously resumed. Mom says, you found a new model for Lumiere, Elise mentioned one Sunday, as they helped clear the table. Maya, Adriana nodded. She's incredible. Wait until you see her in the skincare campaign. Sophia speaks highly of your eye for unique talent. Adriana looked pleased but embarrassed. I'm still learning. The team has been patient. Their mother, overhearing, beamed at her daughters. My girls, working together, who would have thought? Neither sister responded directly, both knowing they weren't quite there, yet working in the same company wasn't the same as working together, but it was a start. Later that week, Elise received an unexpected email from Miguel. Adriana found someone special. Thought you should see this before the formal presentation. Attached was a portfolio for a young man named Leo, a burn survivor, with an extraordinary presence and compelling personal story. His photographs were arresting, challenging conventional ideas of male beauty, while undeniably powerful. Elise smiled, recognizing something significant. Adriana wasn't just adapting to Lumiere's vision, she was beginning to embody it. 6 months after Adriana joined Lumiere, the agency prepared for its most ambitious project, yet a campaign called Beauty Redefined, featuring models from across their diverse roster, paired with personal essays about their relationships with beauty. The concept had been developed collaboratively by the creative team, with significant input from Rebecca and, surprisingly, Adriana, whose understanding of the industry's blind spots had proved invaluable. We need one more element, Rebecca said during the final planning meeting. Something to tie it all together. Sophia and the new creative director exchanged glances. We've been thinking, Sophia began carefully, that you and Adriana should be part of the campaign. Me? Adriana looked startled. I'm not a model anymore. And I was never a model, Elise added. Exactly, Rebecca nodded, warming to the idea. The woman who embodied traditional beauty standards, and the woman who challenged them, sisters, who represent both sides of this conversation. Elise immediately tensed. I don't think it's perfect, the creative director interrupted. The personal story behind the professional mission, it completes the narrative. I'd need to think about it, Elise said, avoiding Adriana's gaze. Later, alone in her office, Elise struggled with the proposal. She'd gradually grown comfortable directing Lumiere from behind the scenes, but had never considered putting herself in front of the camera, especially not alongside Adriana, whose beauty had always been the counterpoint to her own plainness. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Adriana entered, looking uncharacteristically hesitant. So, she said, sitting across from Elise, that was unexpected. Very, Elise agreed. What do you think? Adriana considered the question. 6 months ago, I would have said, absolutely not, but now she shrugged. Maybe it makes sense. Our story is part of why Lumiere exists. I've never been comfortable with my appearance, Elise admitted. I know, Adriana said softly, and that's partly my fault. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their shared history filling the space between them. What if we did it? Adriana finally asked. Not for Lumiere, but for ourselves. A week later, they found themselves in Lumiere's main studio. The concept was simple but powerful. The sisters would be photographed separately and together, wearing minimal makeup, styled naturally, their personal essays accompanying the images. Elise felt painfully self-conscious as the makeup artist applied a light touch of foundation, deliberately leaving her freckles visible across the room. Adriana seemed equally uncomfortable with the natural styling so different from the high glamour looks she'd worn throughout her modeling career. Ready? The photographer asked, a talented woman named Jasmine who specialized in authentic portrait. The individual shots came first. Adriana moved before the camera with practiced ease, though Jasmine frequently reminded her to relax into more natural expressions. Less pose, more presence, she guided. When Elise's turn came, she felt frozen, hyper-aware of every perceived flaw. Think about why we're doing this, Jasmine suggested gently. About the message, not the medium. Slowly, Elise began to relax, focusing on the purpose behind the project, rather than her appearance. Then came the joint photographs. The sisters stood side by side, their physical similarities and differences equally apparent. Same eyes, different features, same height, different builds. Talk to each other, Jasmine directed from behind the camera. About anything real. Awkwardly at first, they began to converse about their childhood, their parents, the complicated path that had led them here. As they spoke, the camera captured candid moments, a shared laugh, a serious exchange, a moment of unexpected connection. That's it, Jasmine said softly, continuing to shoot. That's exactly what we need. In one unguarded moment, Adriana said something that made Elise laugh genuinely, her face lighting up with unselfconscious joy. Adriana, responding to her sister's happiness, reached out and squeezed her hand. Perfect, Jasmine murmured, capturing the image that would become the campaign's centerpiece. That's the shot. Later, reviewing the photographs, both sisters were startled by what they saw, not just two women with different types of beauty, but a visual story of reconciliation. The camera had captured something neither had fully acknowledged, that beneath their differences and past hurts, a tentative new bond was forming. 1 year after Elise bought Lumiere Modeling Agency, the fashion industry gathered for the annual Innovation in Fashion Awards. Lumiere was nominated in multiple categories, including Campaign of the Year for Beauty Redefined. The Chen sisters arrived together, a sight that still raised eyebrows among those who knew their history. They made an striking pair, Elise in a tailored emerald suit that complemented her eyes and freckles. Adriana in a flowing silver gown, her hair shorter now, her styling more sophisticated than flashy. Nervous? Adriana asked as they took their seats. Terrified, Elise admitted. Public speaking isn't my strength. You'll be fine, Adriana assured her. Just pretend you're explaining a tech proposal to investors. Elise smiled at the unexpected encouragement. Their relationship remained a work in progress, moments of genuine connection interspersed with old tensions that surfaced without warning. But the foundation had shifted. Where competition once ruled, a cautious collaboration had emerged. Beauty, redefined, had exceeded all expectations, generating international attention and inspiring similar campaigns across the industry. The photographs of the Chen sisters had proven particularly powerful, their essays about growing up on opposite sides of beauty standards resonating with women worldwide. When Lumiere's name was announced as the winner for Campaign of the Year, the entire team rose to accept the award. On stage, Rebecca spoke first, acknowledging the collaborative effort. Then, to Elise's surprise, she stepped back and gestured for the Chen sisters to take the microphone. Adriana gave Elise a gentle nudge forward. Taking a deep breath, Elise addressed the audience. A year ago, I bought a modeling agency for all the wrong reasons, she began, her voice gaining strength as she continued. What started as an act of revenge transformed into something I never expected, the mission to change how we see and celebrate beauty. She glanced at Adriana, who nodded encouragingly. My sister and I grew up believing there was only one kind of beauty, hers, Elise continued. It took this journey for both of us to recognize that beauty isn't a competition. It isn't a standard to meet. It's as diverse as humanity itself. Adriana stepped forward to stand beside her. Working at Lumiere has taught me that what I thought was my greatest asset, conventional beauty, was actually limiting how I saw the world and myself. she added. True beauty emerges when we stop hiding our authentic selves. The audience applauded warmly as the sisters returned to their seats, the award a tangible symbol of how far they'd come. Later that evening, at the after-party, their parents approached, their father beaming with pride, their mother teary-eyed. "My daughters," she said, embracing them both. "I'm so sorry I ever made either of you feel that one kind of beauty was more valuable than another." Their father nodded solemnly. "We're proud of you both, not for how you look, but for what you've created together." The sisters exchanged glances, a silent acknowledgement of the healing that had begun, not just between them but within their family. As the evening wound down, Elise and Adriana found themselves on a terrace overlooking the city lights. "I've been thinking," Adriana said, breaking the comfortable silence, "about starting a foundation for young girls focusing on self-esteem and body image, something separate from Lumiere, but aligned with its values." Elise looked at her sister with surprise. "That's a wonderful idea. Would you consider being involved?" Adriana asked hesitantly. "Your perspective would be valuable. I'd be honored," Elise replied sincerely. They stood side by side, so different, yet increasingly connected by shared purpose, rather than divided by old hurts. "When I said you weren't pretty enough to model," Adriana said softly, "I never imagined you'd respond by redefining beauty itself." Elise smiled. "Neither did I. But that's the thing about feeling like you don't belong, it makes you question why the room is built the way it is." A photographer approached, asking to capture the award-winning sisters together. As they posed, Elise realized how much had changed. She no longer felt inadequate beside Adriana's beauty. She no longer saw beauty as a finite resource, something her sister had claimed, leaving none for her. Instead, she saw two women with different gifts, both valuable, both beautiful in their own ways. What had begun as an impulsive act of revenge had evolved into something neither sister could have predicted: a healing journey, a business transformation, and the beginning of a new kind of relationship built on mutual respect rather than comparison. Sometimes, Elise reflected as the camera flashed, the most beautiful things emerge from our most painful moments if we have the courage to transform them.